You're watching Truth Talk News.
I like Tony Bennett. I really do. I think he's great. I think that he is truly a pacifist and a great man, an amazing talent, and a God-fearing, good soul, a positive force in the universe. But unfortunately, there are negative forces in the universe. And what I'm about to show you is Tony Bennett talking about gun control.
I'm a pacifist. I'm very far out. I'm against violence. I'm against war. The average answer is, there's always going to be wars, I personally believe that someday the world will become sane and realize the ignorance of war.
The problem is, Tony, we are dealing with insane oligarchs who are intent upon world domination of all aspects of human life and steady depopulation, significant depopulation, about 80% of the planet. This is what we're dealing with. And their insidiousness and their clever Machiavellian, Hegelian efforts to accomplish their task of bringing in a new world order is far from ignorant.
Yes, sir.
How important do you believe is to address also the problem of possible mental illness from some people and prevent those shootings before it happens? And how do you think the industry of entertainment also can contribute to create new generations of young people that is not so sensitive to this type of tragedy?
Well, we should just care for our children so much and make sure that my own children were just told, don't ever have a gun. No guns in my house. They're not allowed. And I just believe that assault weapons, they were invented for war. They shouldn't be on our streets here. It's the kind of turn that happened to the great country of Germany, where Nazis came over and created tragic things, and they had to be told off. And if we continue this kind of violence and accept it in our country, the rest of the world is going to really take care of us in a very bad way. We should learn that we're the greatest country because we're all different nationalities and all different religions. And we should show the rest of the world how to behave.
Again, I love Tony Bennett. I think that he has bridged the gaps through generations. He's obviously a loving father and he cares about the world. But clearly he is unfortunately not aware. And it becomes clearer as you understand how history repeats itself. And it's funny because he lived through the Nazis and doesn't realize that when you take away the rights of the people to bear arms, they can't defend themselves. This is historically true. We, the people, cannot expect the government nannies to protect us. In many areas of this country, it takes 30 minutes or longer for police response. Look at the statistics. You have a right to defend yourself, but the controllers, the oligarchs, wish to disarm you. So the best way to disarm you is to psychologically have you be against weapons. So I won't own a gun. And if Tony Bennett doesn't own a gun, I'm not going to own a gun either. So whether there's actual complicity or it's just, mind-controlled sheep, Tony Bennett clearly is missing the point. We must have the right to defend ourselves against a rising tyrannical government. That is the reason. Because, as I illustrate, some of our government officials are out of control.
By order of the City of Pittsburgh Chief Police, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse.
That is some sick shit. And there's even sicker scenes, and this whole aspect of these really, really sadistic, horrific horror films. The truth that there is a problem with violence in society. Clearly there's a connection. Bruce Willis. Again, I guess these people are all trying to protect their livelihoods. So Bruce Willis supposedly is now a Second Amendment supporter, and he mentions that he says that the new gun control laws that could infringe on the Second Amendment rights, he's against that whole idea, but he dismisses any link between Hollywood shootouts and real-life gun violence. That's pretty interesting, right? Let's get back to Tony Bennett for a moment. Looks at the world much the way I looked at the world before I was awake, when I was a sheep. And I never owned a gun. I don't think anyone should have owned a gun at the time. I think, I thought that, that's part of the problem. And he even admitted that he has no guns in his home and has told his own children not to have guns. So if anyone that wants to go and do harm to him, he's actually alerted the world that he's a defenseless victim. But it shows how people are so misguided and misunderstanding and manipulated by the mainstream media, and people that are celebrities even, and people in their 80s, like Tony Bennett, can't grasp that there are forces in our government that are working to put in a socialist, Nazi-like, totalitarian regime.
Mercury containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to 2 new studies in the journal Pediatrics. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
Fluoride in water is supposed to fight tooth decay, but could it also cause cancer?
Turns out the government had the right under U.S. law to conduct secret testing on the American public.
The Great Wall is no longer a wall dividing China from the rest of the world, but it is a reminder of the fact that there are many walls still existing in the world which divide nations and peoples. But we are determined that those differences not prevent us from living together in peace. The interest that each of us has to maintain our independence and the security of our peoples, and the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
We are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy to get people actually to love their servitude. People can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which, by any decent standard, they ought not to enjoy.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
Republican and Democratic presidents alike, from Harry Truman to George Bush, stood for freedom and stood for certain propositions that would make America strong and healthy and grow the middle class and shrink poverty and stand against communism. And after 1989, President Bush said, and it was a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
Pope Benedict XVI is calling for a new world financial order, and In the third encyclical of his pontificate, Benedict denounced the profit-at-all-cost mentality of the globalized economy, and he lamented that greed brought about the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression.
A new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges for the future.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
We have a lot of huge problems. We have the nuclear problem in Korea. We have the nuclear problem in Iran. We have, of course, the whole array of problems, each of which, Afghanistan, and so forth. But then we have the financial issues. But they really are issues of the construction of a new world order. That's what this is about.
Already, fingerprints and iris scans verify passenger identities at airports. Within 10 years, that technology may be even more widespread. And look for more complex facial recognition programs that scan a crowd of thousands looking for a single terrorist. The latest home security locks use fingerprints to control deadbolts. And at the Jewel Osco grocery store in Chicago, some customers pay using their fingerprints. No paper or plastic.
You don't really need anything other than your hand, and you already got that with you.
Now the UN is backing a plan to change all of that and create a new global currency.
The Second Amendment is not about duck hunting, but it's about our rights, all of our rights, to be able to protect ourselves from all of you guys up there.
UN Agenda 21, bailouts, sellouts, Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, false flag, terror attacks, Bill Gates, Henry Kissinger, New World Order, mind control. Back in America, stealing homes with cut and paste mortgage loans, police, state, taser guns, FEMA camps, Mandarin. Monsanto rules the food supply while Big Pharma dopes your mind. Prison system, profiteers, foundations, fund the fears, fund the evil through the years. The world's not as it appears. CIA smuggles drugs while Wachovia and Wells Fargo launder them, then give the proceeds to the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank. Now the IRS takes money out of every single check. Money created out of thin air and leave you with debt. They want to make you a serf, a slave to their demand. They want to take your life in every way they can. Fluoride, GMO, vaccines, chemtrails, United Nations genocide. The world they show us is not real. This is how they kill and steal. Rothschild, Bundy, Rockefeller, Club of Rome. On the Georgia Guide, soldiers written in stone. Cut through the
matrix. And on nights like this one,
do not
we can say to those families who have lost loved ones to Al-Qaeda's terror, justice has been done.
The lethality of their power is greater than ever. Their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. And in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people.
Something's gotten lost. That something is the truth. What is it in us that seeks the truth? Is it our minds? Or is it our hearts?
I'm Howard Nima. Thank you for watching Truth Talk News.